Want to talk about one of the unexpected knock-on effects of those selfish idiots hoarding loads of food because of coronavirus, and that is how it's negatively impacting on the hundreds of thousands of people who rely on food banks. How? Why? Rajesh Makwana from the Sufra Food Bank and Community Kitchen is going to try and talk us through it. He joins us on the line now. Afternoon, Rajesh.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. I must admit, the hoarding, the images of hoarding, I find quite sickening, actually. The idea, especially people hoarding toilet paper, which they probably won't even need, even if they get coronavirus. How is it impacting on food banks, though, Rajesh?
In so many different ways. I mean, we're really into a bit of a crisis situation here, trying to manage our response to the coronavirus. Yes, we do rely on donations, and they're affected. But we also purchase much of the food that we distribute, and there's issues with getting hold of stock. So, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Toilet roll is one of the things that we make sure that is in all of the food parcels that we give to the guests that come to Sufra. And we're not going to be able to give that out for sure.
I'm still reeling from a statistic I read, it might have been, I think, the back end of last year, that there are more food banks in the UK than there are McDonald's restaurants.
Yeah, I was shocked when I read that as well.
Blow my mind. Extraordinary.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, the reality is there shouldn't be food banks in one of the world's richest countries.
Well said.
You know, it's an absolute injustice that they exist. And not only do they exist, there are more and more of them, and they're getting busier and busier. Certainly we are. We in the last financial year distributed the equivalent of over 9,500 food parcels, and that's 3 times as many as 3 years back. And that's the last financial year. This financial year, we're coming towards the end of, we're likely to see a significant increase on that as well.
Even though the politicians are sort of giving us the impression that austerity is being, is over. We've been told that.
Yes, we've been told that, but I'm not sure that it's true. Certainly doesn't seem to translate into a reality for the poorest in society, those who are most vulnerable.
Where do you get most of the food from? Is it from shoppers' donations?
Well, around a third of our food is donated. So when I say food, our typical food parcel contains toiletries as well as baby products. In fact, you know, nappies, sanitary towels, toothpaste, toilet roll, etc. So about a third of that is donated by our massive community of supporters. But the rest of it we have to purchase because, of course, if you're going to give something to the food bank, you're very unlikely to donate sanitary towels or toilet roll. You're more likely to give a packet of pasta and some baked beans, for example.
Yes.
Right? But yeah, so it's a combination.
I'll be honest, I didn't realise it was so varied, actually. I assumed it was either the supermarkets or food manufacturers giving you a bunch and shoppers' donations as well. I didn't actually realise you were having to spend real money buying stuff in.
Absolutely. We have a budget that's way too big that we need to put towards this because the reason for our existence is to make sure that people have some of the most essential food that they need to survive when they need it the most. And these aren't people that are reliant or I should say dependent upon the food bank. The majority of people only use the food bank a handful of times a year, if that, 2 or 3 times. And the reason they do is because they're experiencing some sort of financial crisis at that moment in their lives. It may be because of universal credit and the delays receiving payments. It may be one of several other major factors.
What about a message to those that are hoarding, have hoarded? I don't know whether we can look at this 2 ways: address people who are thinking about going to the supermarket and clearing the shelves, and then a word for those who've already cleared the shelves and are maybe sitting pretty on a mountain of baked beans and toilet roll, and when people are going without. What would you say to those 2 groups of people?
Well, I would say that the problems that we're facing in society are largely there because of too much self-interest and not enough sharing, not enough understanding that, you know, we are a community, you know, and we need to work together to look after everybody. And when a crisis hits like this, for everybody to just be focusing on their own needs, you know, again, plays into that problem. And what we need to recognize that to create a good society, it needs to be a sharing society.
Would you say
what I would say is,
Would you say those with an excess of tinned food, toiletries, toilet paper, UHT milk, which I know is running low in a lot of food banks, would you urge them to do the right thing and maybe give some of their excess to a food bank?
Of course I would. I mean, the reality is most people who can afford to bulk buy and to stock up in that way have other means to make sure that they get the food that they need to survive. The people who are knocking on our door day in, day out, they don't. They are literally, their cupboards are empty and they don't have the means to bulk buy. And now when they really are in need and they get a bit of money from wherever, they go to the supermarket and the shelves are empty, that's really going to impact them.
Rajesh Makwana, thank you so much for giving up some of your time today to share the plight of the many, many people out there who rely on food banks. Rajesh, Director of the Sufra Food Bank and Community Kitchen. Go on.